You in this battle, man, I'll soon be dead. I'll glue your face to my dick so I can fuck with your head. I got metaphors coming through my pores. You probably never been in a battle before, so I hope you realize your mistake. There ain't no party, got some candles, this will be a piece of cake. Welcome to the Before Hours Podcast, internet radio phenomenon hosted by an occasional morning person. I ask the most interesting people I know about their sleep, their routine, life, love, stress, and setbacks. You may comment on this very video if you're watching on YouTube, or if you want to reach out to me directly, you can find me on Instagram, Bobby Sheehan, LOL, because you know I bring the laughter. And now we have this week, he's funny, he's a comedian. You see him on Wild 'N Out. You might have even seen him on this very podcast or listening if it's just audio. Welcome to the show, Jacob Williams. What's going on, Jacob?
Hey, it's me. You might have seen me on this if you're watching it now, but not previously because this is the first time I've done it. But yeah,
yes.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Immediately corrected me.
No, that was you said a lot of nice things, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. This has been the Before Hours Podcast. I'm just joking. We're getting into it, dude. We are.
I was a lot funnier before we started recording, and now I'm just like freezing.
Now you're like, what do I do?
I'm like in my head because the cameras aren't. All right.
Well, also, we're going to have to get into the groove of, because you and I have the most opposite energies that have ever existed. Like, I'm divine extroverted. You're divine introverted.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I do like that about you. I feel like you always have very positive energy, and you're very like friendly and warm and open and outgoing.
Handsome.
Mostly just the things I said. No, very handsome as well. You're in great shape. You kind of inspired me to like eat healthier, work out more.
Mm-hmm.
No, so yeah, I do aspire to be more. I'm naturally more introverted. I guess maybe I'm an ambivert. Like I like social stuff, but I like alone time. So yeah, I'm trying to get more social. So maybe I'll hang out with you and try to learn how to be social. I don't know.
Can you imagine if I ran not even a dating coaching service, a
life coaching? You would be. I think you would actually be a great life coach.
You think so?
Unironic.
I have almost no money.
Yeah, you would make money as a. That's the
okay.
Thing. You don't need money. You just need positive energy. That's what life coaches have.
That is kind of.
They all started at zero income as a life coach and eventually made money. So
I think stand up aside, the only way I've made money is my ability to like use my mouth. Pause. But my ability to just like.
Was that at the Bone Museum next door?
Yeah,
that's a real museum. That's not.
Connor, are we allowed to talk about the Bone Museum?
Oh yeah, they love it. Oh, good. Yeah, the Bone Museum. I thought that was what they called my photo album of dick pics.
You have a photo album?
Not really. I have actually never taken a dick pic. I was trying to think of a Bone Museum joke and I couldn't come up with.
You've never taken a dick pic?
I actually have never. Yeah, I don't think I've ever. I've certainly never sent one. I don't think I've even ever taken one for myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you have in the background of your phone?
Well, I have a picture of you, so it's kind of a dick, kind of a picture of a dick. But I hope that's okay. I have a photo of you in my background, and we aren't that close. But I just like I said, you inspire me. I just like to be like, this is who I want to be in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a lot shorter and less money, but very positive. Yeah. No, just good. I'm also struggling for sure. But I feel like you would be a great like mentor or life coach for sure.
Nice. Hell yeah, dude. You just raised my self-esteem by immeasurably so.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Likewise. I feel the same whenever I talk to you. You're very, like I said, you always make me brighten my day. Like when I ran into you on the train I think we were talking about the last time I saw you.
We did. We did and like you referenced, we're not very close, right? When we talk, it's via Instagram DM, right? That's our level of acquaintance.
This is the most we've ever talked so far in the 3 minutes of this, I think.
Yes, yeah. My people called your people. My people is just my burner accounts, but we worked it out. But I saw you on the other end of the train platform a few weeks ago, and I had this thing where I was like, does he want to talk to me? Right. And I do.
Oh, yeah. I have that a lot when I see someone I know on the train. Yeah.
So we played like a game of chicken a little bit, right? Like
okay, so it sounds like we both noticed each other, but pretend like we didn't or checked in first before. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. One of us won the game of chicken of walking towards each other. I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But we ended up chatting, and your plan was to go home and take a nap. And I love that.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So actually that refreshes my memory because it was kind of a weird day where actually maybe this is on theme for the podcast, but I probably have some like insomnia and tend to stay up crazy hours and have trouble falling asleep or have trouble going to bed myself. And then when I do go to bed, have trouble falling asleep when I want. But yeah, so I think that particular day I was used to like sleeping until like even the afternoon or evening, even like from the night before. And then that day I got up early for me to do like an afternoon show. I think it was the storage shows for the New York Comedy Festival, maybe like these shows in a mini storage container. And it was like part of a promo for mini storage. And that was really fun. I ate a bunch of food at the catering and did some sets, and it was fun. But then I also ended up being able to attend. Yeah, I guess it was like the Bill Burr was hosting SNL, so I got a chance to attend that later that night. And I think I'd had shows in between maybe, so I had like I think a set at the Grizzly Pear. So it was like, then I was free from like 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. of the party. So I think I was like going home to sleep for like an hour because I had barely slept, maybe slept like an hour the night before to take a nap and then go back out for the SNL party. So yeah, so that's kind of my sleep. I think it's getting a little better. I'm working on improving it, but yeah, I've gone through weird phases where I'm like going to bed at 11 a.m. the next day and then sleep.
Oh, wow. So you're really...
That was, yeah, recently that happened. I think it was partly from like congestion, and then I got a neti pot and that helped, but I was like, just would not be able to fall asleep all night. There have been like a few days recently where I like didn't see the sunlight at all while it was up, unless maybe I was like looking out the window before I went to bed or something. And, but no, I'm trying to shift it now. I think I'm like gradually, hopefully shifting in the right direction, but yeah, I definitely struggle with that. I aspire to be more of a morning-ish person, or at least early afternoon person, or something closer to more normal schedule. But yeah,
you have trouble falling asleep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to shift it, like I said, but yeah, I definitely have a lot of trouble going to bed. I have like yeah, I think I'm like kind of addicted to poker too. So for a while I would like play just a free version on my phone. I actually like didn't play at all for like a long time, like a year and a half. And then I was like, because I was like, oh, this is like a problem. I'm like, I would go to a lot of underground games and stuff. And now I'm like, and then I was like, oh, maybe I can do it in moderation. So I played a few times recently, and then that led to a whole nother thing where I was like overall lost money, and then was like staying up super late doing that. And then even if I wasn't, I would just play it for free on my phone, and then like do that for way too long. But yeah, and then I've gone through phases where I had that with like on my phone, I would play online Tetris or like Connect 4 against strangers, and like it like one time I did that for like maybe 12 or 15 hours and was just like awake at noon the next day still just like playing. And then I would like sleep in and miss stuff that even started at like 8 p.m. in the evening the next day and stuff like that. So I think I have like a compulsive thing for like certain games, and even Scrabble Go, I was like, try that, and I was like, all right, I can't do this because it like some of those turn into a time suck where I just don't want to stop. And I don't know if it's like because I was an only child and I didn't have as many chances to be social as a kid, so I'm like, oh, I just want to like play with other kids, but I can't. So then once I get a chance to play a game with someone now, I'm like, I don't know how to like moderate it or stop or walk away. So that's like part of it. And then also just, of course, social media is like very addictive, just scrolling or watching YouTube or whatever. But yeah, so I'm like, all right, I gotta like never play poker again in any form, never play certain games like that I get addicted to. And then I'm hoping that'll like gradually rein it in, which I think has been helping, even though it's just been a few days since I was like really doubled down on that. I'm like, all right, I hope I feel like I'm moving more in the right direction now, so we'll see. But,
so the communal aspect of online gaming or online poker is what you like the most. So you wouldn't get addicted to playing like a game by yourself.
Yeah, for the most part. Although I guess I will say, maybe I've gone that with certain games by myself, in the past video games, although I don't really have any with me now in my apartment. And then Tetris, I guess I would play a long time by myself too. And yeah, maybe certain games.
Oh, right. Tetris is by yourself, of course.
Yeah. So I guess it is kind of a combo. The community aspect definitely hooks me in a little more, even if it's just strangers online that I can't see. But like, yeah, I guess it's a mix for sure. And I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, and then of course there's a lot of solo stuff, just like YouTube algorithm or social media stuff, just like parasocially, like scrolling and seeing what friends or people I know are up, and that can be like its own. Anyway,
Yeah. I mean, I relate to that, dude. I mean, I could get addicted to anything. And I quit the thing I was most addicted to, which is alcohol, because it's the most dangerous one.
yeah, I actually quit drinking alcohol like 6.5 years ago, and that's one where I'm lucky it wasn't like super tough for me to quit, especially after the first couple months. It's been easier and easier, and yeah, that's one of those decisions where I'm like, I don't know if it was like my biggest issue, but across the board, it was like an improvement for sure. And then, so yeah, I think if I can add quitting poker this time, like completely permanently, then I think I'll be like pretty smooth in terms of being able to handle all the other issues that come up here and there. But
So the poker thing, can I ask about the underground poker scene?
Yeah,
You
totally.
can't say anybody's name.
I don't know about that, but yeah. So basically, yeah, it was. So I think I played poker like a handful of times over the last like growing up from teen to like 20s, like here, like every once in a while, like if I was in a casino, I'd play like a tiny bit, and then that was about it. But then during the pandemic, I got like kind of sucked in because I was like pretty lonely and didn't really know how to just like have any human contact or anything. And then I found out some friends I knew were like doing these like small stakes poker games with comedians. So I was like, oh, that'll be a good way to like see friends again and stuff. And I got really into that. I ended up like doing pretty well at those games, which were like, again, very like small stakes. And that was like a fun hang for sure. But I think somehow gradually that shifted to being like, I was more hooked on like the activity of that type of gambling, or like, because this is like some skill involved and some luck, but I was like kind of got obsessed with that. And so then I started going to these like underground illegal games that with like bigger stakes than what I probably could afford. And it's like they have like security and cameras, and I think you had to, some of them you have to play for a minimum of 2 or 3 hours if you're winning, or if you're down you can leave anytime. But so it's like yeah, and that I would sometimes do well and sometimes not, and then overall I ended up like gradually just losing a ton of money there because I guess there were just people that were way better at it than me, which makes sense. And then I would like stop for a while, or I would go to certain casinos and actually make a lot of money. Like in Texas, I would like sometimes make a ton of money at a game when I was like there for a show, and I would play after, and like I'd be like, oh, maybe I am good at it. Or there was one time I played at this casino in my hometown for a few days, and each night I would like make a decent amount of money every time. So like yeah, so it's like a weird thing where it like messes with my head where I'm like, am I good at this? And then like yeah, that kind of thing is like can be like maybe I have like some delusion or compulsiveness, which can be like helpful in certain things, like maybe comedy. It helps to be a little compulsive or delusional about it, to be like get a lot of reps and keep doing it when it's not going well. But then with poker, it's a little counterproductive because anytime you're like in comedy, when you're bombing, it's like a learning experience. In poker, if you're bombing, it's learning, but you're also losing a lot of money. You probably can't afford.
Bombing is free.
Yeah. Bombing is at least free in comedy. So it's just emotionally painful, but it like builds character or helps you get better or whatever. But like in poker, I'm like, oh, this is not a good fit for that type of trial and error that I'm used to being bad at something for a long time while I figure it out. So yeah, hoping to just stick to mostly comedy and other hobbies for fun instead. So that's yeah, I think that's like my biggest addiction right now, or drug of choice, as they say. So yeah, if I can get that out, I think I'll be pretty good. But yeah.
See, I feel lucky in that the few times I've gambled, I'm a little too dumb to understand the rules, and I get frustrated and I stop.
No, that's great. Yeah, I wish I would, if I had stopped like that, I would have been way ahead financially for sure. So,
But otherwise, I would.
so in terms of poker, you're way ahead of me because I'm negative
Okay.
so much that
I'm only, I think, negative $100.
yeah. So I'm negative a lot more. I don't know if I want to say it, but a lot more than for sure.
More than $100.
Yeah,
Leave
for
it
sure.
at that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, because I mean, the only thing I know about underground poker games is like what I've seen from Goodfellas and The Sopranos. I
Okay.
imagine it's a little different, right? I mean, what are the characters like when you?
It's pretty similar. Like I would take a gun out and shoot the waiter's foot. Pretty much the same exact thing. No, there's definitely some characters. Yeah, I played one time in my hometown's casino, and there was this one guy who was getting on everyone's nerves. I think he just was like going on about something, and this one guy was like, I'll pay you $100 to just leave right now. And he did. So that, but there's definitely, yeah. And then there was like another table where there was like almost a fight and someone got like kicked out because I guess he was like talking to someone and insulting him in another language they both knew. And they're like, oh, you're only allowed to use English because it's like, there's certain rules with like, you can't share insider information with,
Right.
so it's, but yeah, I've seen people have like crazy meltdowns and like, cause it is like very emotionally charged and people are gambling with sometimes their life saving or, but it's like, so appealing in the sense that you're like, oh, maybe I'll make money. And then even me, I'm like, oh, I have to play again now that I lost because then you have to like win the money back. And then if you get further, you're like, now I have to play even more to win that back.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess I'm like, I've been, when the last times I played, I was like kind of at a negative place of like chasing losses and then like trying to hide it from people I'd told previously that I'd quit. So I didn't feel good about that. That was like kind of a newer thing, was like lies by omission of like not saying that I'd play it again or like, so yeah, because I went like maybe a year or two without doing it and I'm like, oh, maybe I can just do it casually. And then I'm like, more recently I was like, tried it and I was like, oh no, this is I don't know how to like moderate this thing. So but yeah, no, there's a lot of characters for sure. There's some people that are funny. So most of the time it's like pretty quiet because it's like I guess poker, I read a few books about it. Like one person said it's like you're a detective and a storyteller because you're a detective trying to figure out what the other person's cards are and what their strategy is. But then you're a storyteller because like you want to make it seem like you have a certain hand maybe, and maybe like so they don't think that you're bluffing or make it seem like you're bluffing when you do have a good answer. They call you. So it's like a lot of there is like some interesting like psychology and stuff behind it. And there are, yeah, it is, some of the people were like kind of fun and interesting to talk to, but not a good fit to play a game with when they're like really good at it and they're like
Oh,
reading
yeah.
you really well.
Now, do you think there's anybody in that circle when you're playing that's not addicted to poker, or by nature of them being there, they're all like rogue?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. No, probably. I mean, I think, yeah, probably most people are not as addicted to it as me. But then again, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely people with much more severe gambling addiction stuff than me in those things. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough to say. Although I did hear, I think like, I don't know if this is right, but like 90 or 95% of people who play poker end up losing money overall. So it's like those top 5 or 10% of people are just taking everyone else's money basically. And then of course there's a rake where the house takes maybe 10%. So then the house is always winning to some degree. And then you have to be so much better to win consistently. Because yeah, and then even if you are playing well, you can like lose a lot of money just through there's like a bad luck element sometimes. So it's like that can mess with your head. And then you can go on tilt where you're like, that means you're like emotionally frustrated and then start playing badly because of that.
Oh,
And I've seen people have all kinds of ways of doing that, whether they like freak out and yell or are just, it's more like imploding, like more like what I would do. But yeah, either way, it's bad news for me personally, and probably for a lot of people. But maybe there's some people who are maybe like the very small percentage who are like super good at it and like able to keep a level head and like have disposable income, and I guess are consistently winning over time. I like, maybe for them it's good. But even like people I played in those underground games that were high stakes for me, like a lot of them might have been chasing losses from previous, like one of them said like he was playing at higher stakes than that and he'd lost like $1 or $2 million. So then he's like crushing there and taking all my money, but to him he's like, oh, I'm still down because I lost so everyone's, it's like almost like a pyramid scheme of like, and then maybe I'm that person for like the comedian games where like I'd see people get really upset because they lost money and I would win money there, but to me it was like very small compared to what I was losing at these other. So it is like a very slippery slope. And yeah, I don't know, but no, I'm sure other people are better at like you said. I was just listening to this podcast about like dopamine and like all the ways that it can affect people differently. So like a drug of choice could be totally different for like one person could be addicted to just reading romance novels, but do it so compulsively it's a problem. Yeah. But then like for me, it's poker. For you, you said drinking, but everyone has like, it could be like super specific. So yeah, it's kind of interesting how it's like different for everyone. So for me, that's mine. But and maybe for some of the other people playing poker, but maybe some of them can just do it casually and it's fine. I don't know.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you're an only child.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm an only child as well.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. We and can't you just see it with our body language? Our eagerness to be accepted. I actually, both of my parents were one of 8 siblings.
Yeah, I had a similar thing. Yeah, my dad's one of 6. My mom is one of, I want to say 5. I know I should know this, but yeah, about 5. And yeah, why do I have to do the math? It's people I've known a lot. Anyway. All right,
We
anyway.
actually,
we'll
Connor,
edit
can
that
you Google how many brothers and sisters does Jacob Williams' mom have? That there's
I
no
can
way.
do that for you.
There's no way there's an answer
She's
to that.
one of 5. Okay, here's why it's complicated. This is kind of dark, but it's so it's 5. She's one of 5 now, but she had an older sister who died when she was 18 and she was on a bike and got hit by a car.
Oh, geez.
So very sad. And I never met her older sister, obviously. So they're both one of 6 originally, and then anyway, not to bring it down.
No, I got dead aunts and uncles as well.
Okay.
Weirdly enough, on my mom's side, my mom
Okay.
has had like I don't know. I think part of it is just that, you know, anybody born before like 1970 has like, I don't know, even like
Yeah.
we all know someone that knew someone that had polio,
Oh, sure.
which
Yeah.
is crazy. you know?
Yeah, actually, I do have some interesting stories of in terms of that. Like some of my grandparents, like my dad's dad was in World War II, and it's kind of amazing he made it out because he was like so he was in a scout tank for America where he would go out ahead of the troops and like look for where the Nazis were, and there'd be like bullets whizzing past him. So he had like 3 tanks like basically shot out from underneath him that he had to get out of. He had like frostbite, I think, at the Battle of the Bulge or something, and he like helped liberate some Nazi concentration camps and stuff like that. So he had some pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, I can't imagine. It's like so different, obviously, than anything I've never been in war or anything
I
like
mean, he's never had to perform in front of a bunch of people that don't know how to be a good comedy audience.
Yeah. So we've all had our own moments of valor, I guess. But
That's incredible. He was at a battle that has a Wikipedia page. That's so exciting.
yeah. I think he helped liberate, I want to say like Buchenwald and another concentration. But yeah, it was pretty intense because he was like on the very scouting frontline part where anyway. So yeah, no, that is, I do think about that a lot. There's like such a different, our lives are so different than even like a generation or two ago.
So much easier too.
Oh yeah, just like across the board with technology and everything. Yeah, it's crazy. Like you said, polio, like basic diseases that are like easy to fix now, like just like wipe you out. And yeah, that's crazy.
Have you ever had sleep paralysis?
Oh, so I don't know if I think I've heard about that. I don't think I've had sleep paralysis. I have had night terrors where you act out your dreams and you don't remember it. So so for instance, well, I used to sleepwalk a lot. I would like walk as a kid, I would like walk upstairs and be walking around in the attic and stuff. But then, okay, so this one time I was in high school, I was on a Catholic youth group retreat. And so I was going to go to sleep in this kind of dorm room with like a bunch of the other kids, the boys in the group. And I think I was like a little stressed out when I fell asleep because they had like some shaving cream and they were talking about like doing pranks and like putting it on it when they fall asleep. And they were like, oh, we'll go to the girls' room and like put shaving cream on them. So I had like anxiety about that happening to me. Anyway, so whatever happened, I don't even remember falling asleep, but apparently I fell asleep. And then when I woke up, everyone was just staring at me, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like,
Was I doing something really
And
cool?
apparently, I just like shot up out of sleep while they were there, and it was just yelling like, "Where the fuck is he? Where the fuck is he?" And I don't remember that, but everyone heard me yell it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, sorry. I guess it was a nightmare I was acting out."
Where you were looking for a man.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it was like. Yeah, I don't know. I assume a stress dream based on the anxiety I had. But yeah, I mean, that was something, I guess. But yeah, I don't know if I've had like sleep paralysis. Is that where you're like asleep, but you're conscious of looking around and you can't move and there might be like a demon or something?
Yes, the can't move thing is what fucks with you the most.
Yeah, that
because
sounds horrifying.
it's the only time I felt like, oh, I can't move and I want to.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
The first time it happened to me when I was a teenager, I was like fully asleep. Like
Okay.
it manifested as a dream, and I was on my back. And yes, sometimes there's a sleep paralysis demon,
Okay.
and which is like for me, and I grew up Catholic too, so. The first time I saw the demon, it was like the devil personified, like the classic horns,
Okay.
fire,
Oh, that's
spear.
that's scary.
And he was sitting on my chest, and I couldn't move.
Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah.
But this is why what prompted me to ask the question was you're talking about how much different life is now and how much easier it is for us, right?
Yeah.
So like as a teenager, I woke up and I Googled like, what was that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got like a medical answer.
Okay.
I was like, oh, well, that's what that is. I always think about like if I was born like 100 or a few
Oh,
hundred
yeah.
years, I'd be like, oh, I am possessed. The devil came to me last night.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think when I was growing up, I guess I'm a little older than you probably, and obviously, yeah, and so I was like, but maybe also just the quirks of my parents. Like I didn't really have internet access, so I felt like a lot of that basic stuff I didn't know, which is like, in a way, it's like kind of nice to not have the internet around because it can be so like toxic and distraction. But at the same time, there was like basic info I didn't have. Like I think I remember when I masturbated for the first time, like I actually like didn't know what was happening because I had no I guess at that point I had no reference, but I don't know if I'd have to like do the math. I don't know if I was 11 or 12 or what it was, but I was like, I think I was actually reading this comic book, and Poison Ivy, it was like came into the picture.
Okay.
It was the Batman and Robin graphic novelization. So it was like the Uma Thurman version of Poison Ivy just in a comic book, which I didn't see the movie, so I was just reading the comic version. And that character, whatever happened, I was like somehow unintentionally masturbated. I was just like so confused, and so I didn't have the internet, and then I think I was too nervous to talk to my parents, or I felt like just a lot of guilt and shame around it for a long. Because I think in Catholic they're always, and I was going to like Catholic middle school, I think, so they had a lot of stuff of like, oh, lust is a sin and stuff. So I'd go to confession and be like, oh, I had feelings of lust. So I was just like feeling like I'd fucked up just by having that. So that was like definitely confusing for sure. But anyway.
When I hey, we're a half hour in. Let's talk about it. When I first masturbated, Jacob, you brought it up, not me, right? So I had watched softcore pornography on Showtime.
Uh-huh.
It was a show called The Red Shoe Diaries, which I now understand is probably for married women that don't know they're lesbians yet. Right. So it would just be two women, and they would be like drinking wine after yoga class. And one of them would be like, my husband just doesn't understand me. And then they would kiss. And
Okay.
she'd be like, my husband doesn't kiss like this. Right.
Okay.
And I was just like a 12-year-old boy being like, I guess this is what sex is. But the thing about softcore lesbian porn is that there's no ejaculation.
Okay.
Right. So I knew, like, I kind of knew what sex was. But yeah, when I
Yeah.
ejaculated for the first time, it was a surprise.
Yeah, I remember, I think in grade school or something, when I first heard about sex, someone was like, oh, I found out about sex and it's two naked people hugging.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I asked my mom, I'm like, is that what sex is? And she's like, it's not exactly. There's a little, but she didn't go into detail. But
She pulls out a diagram.
yeah.
She has a
She's like, here, let me and your dad show you in person here now. But yeah, I don't know. Actually, well, even like into college, I think I actually didn't have a lot of technology. Like maybe just because I didn't have a lot of money, but like, and smartphones weren't as prevalent. Like I didn't really have like a laptop for a long time, even, or like anything. I think this is probably embarrassing, but yeah, I think at one point in college, I was going to like the computer lab and I would look up like erotic fiction and then print it out and like hope no one else was there and came in and or the printer got
That's so
jammed.
wholesome.
I get. Well, I don't know if it's wholesome because it was actually like pretty dark, twisted, horrific things. But yeah, at least I was reading, so that's something. I was like working on my language skills. But yeah, no, it was interesting. Yeah, and then actually that's another thing. I'm like trying to quit porn now because I've definitely watched plenty, and I'm like, this is probably would be another good habit to work on. But that's more just a side habit. If I can get out of poker, it'll just.
I think the thing with porn is like with a weird thing that's happening right now is okay because most Americans, I feel like, to some degree or another, grew up in like a somewhat puritanical childhood, right? Where
Yeah.
like we grew up Catholic, other religious traditions, all of the Abrahamic religions are like, don't touch it, it's bad, and that's your
Yeah.
sex education.
Yep.
And then you get older, you learn about the sexual revolution, you find pornography, and you're like, hell yeah, this is great,
Uh-huh.
and you could go too far in the other direction.
Yeah.
But then there's like the new right, almost like the self-improvement, like dude YouTube
Okay.
manosphere,
Uh-huh.
where it's like no fap and it's like,
Ooh.
it's
Yeah.
it's like
Extreme.
semen retention and all this stuff.
Yeah, I hopefully heard about. I don't know if I'm on board with. I think yeah, I've kind of gone back and forth on porn where I'm right now. I'm like, all right, I think I'm gonna try not doing it, but I've never figured out the no fap. I was like, I don't know if I could get on board with that.
It's an overcorrection, I think.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. That's just my opinion.
Because to
Maybe-
me, okay, like I'm addicted to a substance, and substances are like 100% useless,
Sure.
right? So like for me, I'm like, I'm a drunk. I can't touch alcohol ever
Sure.
again. Very serious. Now, if you're addicted to porn or masturbation, I guess in theory you could never jack off again. Doesn't sound sustainable to me. You know what I
yeah, I don't get it. It seems maybe even unhealthy, or like you'll have a wet dream anyway, or whatever. But yeah, I don't really get that. But I feel like if you're just using your imagination, that's probably the healthiest or just using the positive sensation.
I
That's what
did
I've heard.
once
Uh-huh.
do Jackless July. This was years ago before
Okay.
No Nut November was a thing.
Okay.
Jackless July is even harder because July has 31 days versus November that has 30.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say because everyone has like less clothing.
That's another element.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but that does sound tough. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that, but I am gonna try to like stick to no porn,
Mhm.
which does lead to less masturbation. But I don't want to like rule out masturbation. But yeah, actually, I feel like ever since, I mean, it was only like 2 days ago, but ever since I was like, I'm never playing poker. It actually has led to a lot of like ancillary improvements where I'm like, oh yeah, I can like kind of focus on my jokes more, and then also like I'm adding a bunch of extra goals of like emailing clubs, working on material, eating more salads, like trying to eat healthy, trying to work out more often, trying to go to bed early. So I think it's very early stage. It was only a few days ago I'm kind of doing this, but I'm like already like, all right, I think but yeah, another thing I heard about the dopamine where it's like kind of counterintuitive that like if you actually like embrace like more like healthy types of pain or struggle or difficulty, then you actually get like the dopamine reward naturally. Whereas like if you're chasing after pleasure, then it like either way your brain evens it out with like adding extra pain to even. So in a way, I'm like, oh yeah, these things I thought I liked, like eating a ton of sugar or poker or whatever. It's like or porn. It's like kind of there's like I actually don't feel good after because it like whatever. I'm like not smart enough to explain it, but I think they said it's like a scale of pleasure and pain, and if you put too much on the pleasure side, then like the pain side automatically like fills up and like overcorrect, and then you need like more and more extreme stuff just to like get to even of feeling okay. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I'm trying to like take that into account and like focus more on embracing stuff like a good workout or things like that. So I don't know. That's my goal. I'll see if I can keep it going. But
The good feelings of accomplishing something are better than the good feelings of doing something
Yeah.
anybody can do.
yeah, for sure.
I think so, because the story you get to tell yourself is like I accomplished something rather than like I just consumed something or did something.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're choosing the difficulty up front. Yeah, I think I heard it was something like good habits are hard to do but easy to live with, or hard to start and easy, and then bad habits are like easy to do but hard to live with kind of thing. So if you can like it is really difficult to start things or to start good habits or whatever, but if you can get past that initial stage, then it's like so much better. Whereas yeah, like it's like so tempting to do things that are gratifying in the moment, but then it does. Yeah, I guess I've learned over and over how bad the repercussions can be and like how frustrating that. So yeah,
what are some of your good habits? We talked about the bad ones.
Sure, yeah. So one of them is the last maybe 12 years or so on and off, but at least pretty consistently for like maybe 10 years now, I've been like doing morning pages like from the Artist Way where I'll journal 3 pages pretty much every day. And that's super helpful. And then a lot of times during that, I'll focus on like listing, like acknowledging things I have achieved in the last 24 hours that are like, so because since the brain skews a lot of times more negative, it's like nice to remember like, oh yeah, I did make some progress, and that's like helps you get momentum to keep going. And then like things I'm grateful for in there, and then also things it's nice to get out of your system, like things I'll write down like, you know, people I resent or people I'm or things I'm afraid of like coming up, and it just like getting it out there helps me be like, oh yeah, okay, now I can like actually deal with it instead of letting it fester. So yeah, journaling has been super helpful. And then I guess yeah, like I said, I'm trying to get more consistent with it, but I feel like I've been getting more consistent in the last week or two and on and off the last few years. But with like exercising, I feel like helps a lot. And then I guess I mean I guess it's like my job as well, but doing stand up and doing improv as well, and just doing comedy for fun when I'm not getting paid. But that's all like yeah, even stuff that isn't work related, just like hang out with friends is like super rewarding, and doing karaoke and stuff, walking a lot, trying to read stuff.
Karaoke song, because I have one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I it's always changing around, but I think my favorite go-to karaoke song, well, this is kind of dependent on someone knowing the other part, but my favorite thing to do is to do the alphabet part of Defying Gravity from Wicked.
I just watched Wicked last night.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. It's great. The movie?
The movie.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so that's the first half of the musical, and yeah, that song at the end is my favorite karaoke song. And then of course, I love the second act as well, which will come out next year. But yeah, I saw that on Broadway, and the tour version is great.
Was not unaware. So my girlfriend.
Oh, you didn't know it was a 2-parter?
My girlfriend loves Wicked, and she's like, "We're watching Wicked."
Yeah.
And she kept referencing the first and second part.
Yeah.
And then
it is confusing because they didn't list it as part 1 in most of the marketing.
And I just assumed because it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, I was like, this has to be the whole thing.
It is confusing because the Broadway show is about 2.5 hours for the whole thing, including intermission. And so they did add some stuff, but I think they did a great job with what they added. But yeah, it is confusing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm totally roped in. I need part 2 to come out.
I'm so psyched. Yeah, I can't wait. Even knowing the whole plot and having seen it multiple times and listening to the soundtrack over and over, I'm still like, I can't wait to see like how they do that on film.
You're a musical guy?
Yeah, actually a big musical guy. I love, like I said, Wicked. Actually Sweeney Todd is one of my favorites, the original cast recording, which is a shirt I'm wearing right now. The Lion King, I actually enjoyed the soundtrack to the new Mufasa Lion King prequel. The animation style with the CGI wasn't my favorite, with like the weird uncanny valley thing, but the songs I thought were fun. But yeah, I love Hades Town and a bunch. I mean, I see a lot of stuff. Yeah, so I like a lot of Kimberly Akimbo was really good. There's a bunch of stuff. But yeah, what's your go-to?
I think I listened to the Book of Mormon at least.
Oh, I love Book of Mormon. Yeah, I have a joke about it in my stand-up because I went to Book of Mormon, the musical, and I didn't have to buy a ticket. They just looked at me and they thought I was in the cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great one. Very funny. I love that show. And yeah,
I've been on a South Park kick too, and they have cool. Like regularly they have songs in the episodes.
Yeah, I remember. I haven't watched a ton of South Park. I did watch the movie, and I liked the Blame Canada song and stuff. That movie was on Bill Hader's list of 200 movies every comedy writer should see, along with like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, like stuff from across 100 plus years. But yeah, there's a lot. I definitely want to watch more of their stuff for sure.
I watched the South Park movie the same way that I watched like early pornography as a boy. We're back to that, folks. It's like you're old enough for the scramble porn phenomenon, right?
Yeah, but I don't think I even came across that myself, but I know what you're talking about.
That's also how I watched the South Park movie.
Okay.
Just like with I could hear all of the things.
Okay.
With like snow, and then every once in a while I'd get a clear picture.
Oh, interesting.
And that's how I watched the whole movie when I was like 12 or 13.
Okay. Yeah, I think I only had like very basic television. Like I never had any form of cable, and I certainly didn't know how to do that if it was possible. And then as a kid, I also wasn't allowed to watch a lot of stuff like Power Rangers. I think my parents thought was too violent. So like as a kid, I could only watch like maybe Wishbone or whatever. And then
Just nice TV.
yeah, exactly. And then when I saw Poison Ivy, I was like, wow, I wish I could bone her. But anyway, no, actually, my parents had a thing. I think I could only watch half an hour of TV a day.
Okay.
And then if I wanted to watch a movie, I had to like not watch TV for a few days to add up to like 2 hours or an hour or whatever.
Whoa.
So it was pretty intense, but which I think is good in the sense of like it helped me use my imagination. I mean, obviously, like I said, I wish I'd had more social time, but it did make me a little creative in terms of I would make like short like stop motion movies or write a lot of long fiction stories, which I might actually publish soon. I was rereading. I wrote these like stories in middle school that I thought were actually like pretty decent, pretty solid. I might publish them as like short story collection. I won this like young authors contest for like the region of my school for that grade or whatever 3 years in a row in middle school. So I'm like, that was cool. But yeah, I do feel like I missed a lot of like cultural points of like popular shows, which was kind of frustrating. Yeah. Anyway.
Did you have strict parents?
I guess they were strict in that sense of like certain things like TV. And then yeah, in a way there were like other ways where I felt like they were more, I don't know if I could say neglectful or judgmental, but it wasn't like always consistent. And like I almost like, even as a kid, I think I almost wished I'd had like more I guess like of a like chores to do or something where I'm like, that seems like good for me. Like I'm like, it's weird that I'm the one bringing it up because I'm the kid, but I'm like, I wish I'd had, I don't know, but whereas like, yeah, I felt like it was kind of a passive aggressive environment or something. I could say something like just, you know, being myself, and it could be like kind of like I'd be like sometimes judged or whatever in a way where I think it made me kind of nervous and anxious in a way. I still am, to like worried about offending people because I was, yeah, so that was confusing. So not strict in a normal way, but yeah, definitely made me like hyper like feel like I was walking on eggshells or whatever like that. So anyway, yeah, how about you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if it was a super strict environment. I do remember, and this story will be on last week's episode, but my parents caught me smoking pot when I was 14, and they threatened to send me to rehab, which I feel like is an overreaction.
Sure, yeah.
But
yeah,
also,
I also smoked pot when I was 13 or 14, but I think it was more of a one-off. It wasn't super common for me, but yeah.
That's interesting. I think, yeah.
But yeah, that does seem like an overreaction for sure.
Yeah, because I didn't stop smoking pot. I just made sure to never get caught again. But I also was told later, my mom was like, yeah, we put on this like tough face, but we actually thought it was like funny that you got caught.
Okay. Yeah. My parents have a lot of quirks, and like my dad is like has really specific, both my parents have like very specific driving things where like my dad doesn't want to go over like 60 or 65, even if it's 70, and he doesn't want anyone else to do that. And then yeah, and then my mom will like get frustrated with him if it's like kind of dusk and like getting dark out, and he like doesn't want to turn on the lights on the car because he's like, I guess trying to like save money or something. Like one time I even asked if I could turn on the radio, and he said no because he thought it would like take too much of the car's battery. Things like that. So I'm like, yeah, I think he has a lot of like OCD and stubbornness, and my mom has a lot of anxiety about driving, even if there's like a tiny bit of snow or it's like getting dark out. She's like, so it's like a weird combination of like OCD, frugalness, and stubbornness, and very particular with like super anxious about what people think or about slight things that could be dangerous that probably aren't dangerous. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting when we get older and we're like, oh, our parents are just like some guy and some woman, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's like not even people I would necessarily want to be friends with, like if I was in their peer group or whatever, but I also have a lot of their qualities, and I guess I'm also very grateful for the good things they have given me. And at the same time, I'm like, I've had more resources. And I guess because I'm in the modern world, like they maybe didn't have the chance like I did to like go to therapy or read as much more info as there is out there about anxiety stuff. But it's like definitely a little frustrating for sure.
You hit the nail on the head with like why not even just parents, like relatives in general, like, there's all these jokes about like how most people are annoyed to go home for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and it's because they're for the most part, like aside from your partner, like everyone you're around at that time is like someone you didn't choose, right? So you just have to
Yeah.
deal with all their quirks.
Yeah, for sure. Although I will say, yeah, I do like pretty much all my extended family, and but I guess my favorite people are like some of my cousins, like their kids and stuff. I just find it's so fun to just like relate to them and like play with them and read them bedtime stories on vacation and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe it's a good sign that like people are maybe getting more emotionally intelligent as generations go on in families, but I don't know. Maybe that's just in some of the people in my extended family. But yeah, yeah, I feel like some of my like 5-year-old cousins and stuff have like better social skills than I do in some ways.
Okay.
Where they're yeah, one of my cousins, she's just like super outgoing. And I don't even know if she knows I was like one time talking, she was like, "Oh, you had 2 bowls of ice cream," and I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that because I'm an adult." And she's like, "No, you're a big kid." And so I think and one time she was like, "You should ask your mom and dad to get you like a string for your glasses so you won't like lose them." And so I think she thinks I'm like a kid or something because I'm just like very silly when I like talk to them and stuff and try to just make them laugh. But yeah, actually I was gonna ask too, what was your karaoke song?
Oh, yes. My karaoke song, usually I like to feel out the vibe. If the vibe is
Yeah,
right,
totally.
I will do Fight for Your Right to Party
Oh, that's a good one.
by the
yeah.
Beastie Boys. That way everybody knows exactly what I'm there to do.
Yeah,
know?
Beastie Boys is great. There's a Beastie Rap is one of my favorite improv warm-up games.
What is that?
So I think it's like in the style of Beastie Boys, you're trying to like you choose a word to rhyme with. I haven't done it in a while, so I hope I'm getting this right.
Mhm.
And then you're like da 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 da, and then you're like, I was in the studio, I saw a plant, and then everyone tries to rhyme with it, and they're like da 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 da. And then if you're also trying to like set up the rhyme for other people so they can say it with you if they know where you're going. So you're like, when I'm on a picnic, my food gets eaten by an ant or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Da, 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 da,
Oh,
da,
they
da,
are
da.
kind of, yeah, they'll do that sing-songy like 80s rap where it's very simple. Like
Yeah.
all the rhymes are just
They're
like the
really
last
setting
word.
up hard and landing
Mhm.
hard on that last round. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but yeah, Beastie Boys is great. I think I first heard that song in like one of that movie, maybe like, was it Tommy Boy or Black Sheep or something?
Yeah, I think so. I'm
but
thinking
yeah,
of the meme right now where it's it was a tweet actually. It was, how come every Beastie Boys song is 3 little piggies, three blind mice. I see some girlies and they all look nice. I'm like, oh shit, that's every Beastie Boys
Yeah,
song.
that's funny. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's great.
Mm.
Good choice.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've never done improv before.
Oh, really?
No, I think I might be good at it, but I think
Yeah, I think you would
everybody
be good
says
at
that.
No, I think you would be good at it because it's all about like having good energy, being able to commit, listening, treating the other people on stage well, like making them look good. I feel like you have those qualities, and
I think
yeah.
I would trip up at the last part where I would. I'm not saying I would go full Michael Scott where I make it
Make everything
about me
good.
the whole time, but I do want. I am selfish in the way that on
Yeah.
stage. I think I'd be selfish.
No, I get
won't
that.
touch.
Yeah, same. I mean, I do both improv and stand up, and it is interesting because they have like very different
Mhm.
rules of what works and what is good. And like, yeah, I've gotten in trouble in improv classes or things for making jokes like in a way you're not supposed to make jokes in a scene. Like the laughs are supposed to come from like committing to the drama of the
Mhm.
scene, and then it's funny because of the whatever, I don't know. But yeah, no, I do feel like it helps me with my stand up and pretty much. I think improv kind of helps with every aspect of your life, whether you're a comedian or whatever your job is. It kind of helps you like learn how to collaborate and be in the moment and stuff. So when I do it, I think it's like helpful to me. But because that stuff doesn't necessarily come naturally to me.
Mhm.
But anyway, who knows?
I mean, you're on one of the most famous improv shows of all time.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because when I started out doing stand up, and then I was like definitely felt very awkward in my head and more of a writer. So I was like, oh, I should do improv and maybe it'll like help me a little bit with stand up or something. But yeah, I certainly never thought it would help lead to like doing actual improv on TV, which is very surreal. So I feel lucky I've gotten to do that.
I don't know if you remember this, but the first time we met, we were on a bar show in the Lower East Side in this the back room of a very tiny dive bar called Local 138, which I believe is currently out of business now.
Okay.
But we were in a room that was, no exaggeration, about the size of the stage,
Okay.
with about a dozen people watching.
Yeah.
And the vibe was everyone was a bit skeptical that this was real. And I understand that, right?
Yeah.
And so I went up there. I did terrible because I wasn't the titan of industry that I am today, right? and then you got up there and you did very well. And then as a joke, you went, does anybody have any questions? Right? And I love when you do that. And there's a black guy in the front. And he goes, "Are you on Wild 'N Out?" And you're like, "Oh, yes, I am." And that's how I learned because you didn't even bother to tell anyone your credit because you're like, it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm
wow.
projecting that onto you, but I imagine
That's funny because I feel bad, but I don't know if I remember this particular show. I mean, I remember doing different shows with you and stuff, but I don't know if I remember that one. That's funny though.
It made me laugh because like I read your question, does anybody have any questions, is to be a joke, right?
No, yeah, most of the time I say it as a joke, and most of the time it gets a laugh, and usually it's just a segue into another joke about a question someone did ask me. But yeah, most of the time no one actually has a question. If they do, I will address it obviously. But
so that's why it made me laugh for two reasons. One, that guy clearly didn't register to him that you were making a joke, and he literally was like, "Oh, it's time to ask the comedian a question," and I love that.
Yeah.
And then I learned that like, oh, this guy's on TV. New York comedy's so crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild out there.
Yeah.
No, I did feel kind of a surreal experience. I think when I talked to you, I was going to the SNL Bill Burr party, but I think the week before I went to one and I was like very in my head because there were like all these like celebrities that I was like at the bar, and like Adam Sandler came over and he's like, "Hey man, are you drinking tonight?" And I think I just like froze up. I was like, I'm just having this
You just immediately
non-alcoholic.
screamed,
I like forgot how to have a conversation.
You're Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I wanted to be like Uncut Gems. I wanted to just yell his movies at him, but I didn't know what to do. And then I met like Andy Samberg and Emma Stone and Colin Jost and stuff. And then I saw like Steve Martin and Chris Rock and Martin Short and Chappell Roan and all these people who were there. So I felt like very it was interesting to see them just like being normal people, but I was definitely freaking out. I definitely wanted to be like that guy and ask them like, were you in that book Born Standing Up? But yeah.
I met Bill Burr once, and I played it as cool as I possibly could.
Nice.
Right, which is he got done doing a set at New York Comedy Club, and he was very clearly waiting for an Uber. Like the way he was looking at his phone is how you look at your phone if you're looking for an Uber.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to bother him, but I also didn't want to not say anything.
Sure.
So here's what I should have done, folks. Hey, Bill, big fan. And shake hands, right?
Okay.
Wouldn't that have been great?
Yeah, that's good.
It would have been great, dude. You know, I panicked and I put up my fist and went, "Good job."
Oh, that's funny.
As if he's not one of the best to ever do it. But
Yeah.
he was very nice. He went, "Oh, thank you very much." And then he gave me,
I actually like what you did. I think that's good. I think what you did is good.
it's a little cringy in that I'm like, "Hey, good job." Like, hey,
Actually,
you got something there.
In a way, it was like good because he probably just did you saw him do a set, or he had just done a set. So yeah, that's I feel like that's probably the right thing to do, is like be specific about like that was a good set. I think I did that with Louis CK once years ago, like maybe 10 years ago. I was like had seen him do a great set at UCB, and then I saw him the next day at a comedy club. He was dropping in somewhere, and I was just like, "Oh, great set at UCB yesterday." And he was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And then And then I think I actually said like I'm a really big fan. He like kind of made a face. I'm like, I shouldn't have said. I felt like it rubbed him the wrong way. And I'm like, geez. But yeah, who knows? I never know what to say. I complimented Andy Sandberg's Beetlejuice sweater, I think, and he was like, "Oh, thanks." So I don't know. I guess maybe it's good to sometimes be specific and whatever.
I think celebrities they know when people are nervous around them, and if they're not assholes, they like navigate that in a way.
Yeah, actually, speaking of Bill Burr, yeah, I think I've never talked to him, but yeah, one time I was like walking by a comedy club and he like came out, and I definitely made eye contact, but I didn't. Yeah, I think I was just too nervous to say anything, and so I was just like, all right, he probably just thinks either I'm a weirdo or a fan he doesn't want to deal with or whatever.
I used to walk a dog that lived in the building next to where Alec Baldwin lived. And the first time I saw him, he was talking on the phone and he looked very angry. And this is pre shooting Alec Baldwin, right? But he's always been an angry man, right? And we made eye contact, and I'm not a huge Alec Baldwin fan, so I wasn't gonna go up and talk to him anyway. But I sort of like my eyes went wide just because you don't expect to see,
of course,
like a celebrity. And he nodded at me, and then I kept walking, and then he sort of gave a half smile, like "Thank you for not bothering me."
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a nice little moment that we had. But I can imagine being like nervous in front of Adam Sandler. But I've been in rooms where people are nervous to talk to you.
Yeah, that's been interesting. That will happen occasionally. And yeah, I think the most nervous I got actually was years ago when I met Mike Birbiglia for the first time, because I'd met like other people that were a lot more famous, but to me he was like my favorite comic at the time, and I still think Sleepwalk with Me and My Girlfriend's Boyfriend are like maybe my all-time favorite like albums. So I think I was just so like in my head I'd like heard his voice so much that I was like, it was so hard for me to have like a normal conversation. But yeah, I guess everyone, and then there was one person I dated who had that reaction to like, I guess Adam Scott, who like I'm not like super familiar with, but we like went to a Q&A movie screening thing he did. And I was like, do you want to talk to him? And she was like, no, like she was freaking out. And I always like kind of wanted to meet him because he seemed cool, but I guess everyone has like someone they're like super nervous. I don't know. It's interesting.
Folks, if you've ever had a weird celebrity encounter, I want you to comment it below. I'm trying to get people to comment on the videos.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Guys, like and subscribe, unless you don't
and say your favorite karaoke song in the comments.
Yeah. Oh, that's a better question. Your favorite karaoke or the most cringe karaoke song you've seen somebody else do.
Yeah. Any karaoke stories, any celebrity encounters. Probably everyone will just talk about when they cited me on the street. Just kidding. But,
and speaking of people seeing you, viewing your content, we've reached our time. So how can they do so?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a 1-hour comedy special for you on YouTube. It's called Unemotional Roller Coaster. So check that out. It's also on most audio streaming things. Like, I think they took a lot of comedy stuff off Spotify, but it's on like, Apple Music, Amazon Music, a bunch of stuff. And then, I'm on social media at MR Jacob Williams on like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or X, I guess, and whatever. I have a Facebook page. I have a website I need to fix and update, but I do have some tour days. I think I don't know, when does this come out?
This comes out not next Sunday, but the following Sunday.
Okay. I think, I think this will work. Actually, I don't remember when this might have been in the past then now, but I'm doing a show in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Anyway, but yeah, I'll be posting about a bunch of shows coming up, a lot of stuff in the works, and
Hell yeah, guys. So check out his album, follow him on social media, possibly see him in Lancaster unless that show already happened. And remember, folks, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm just playing Night Owls. You know I love you.
Thank you.